What is up, my friends? Bones88 here, and we got a top 10 list for y'all today. Today we're going to do the top 10 game changers and dragon champions. Now keep in mind, for this one, I have Battlegrounds more in mind when it came to ranking them. There might be a couple that aren't in there that you might think, well, what about this mode, this mode, this one? My main thing I'm thinking about is Battlegrounds. But that kind of converts over to the rest of the game, so it's a pretty accurate list. But with that being said, let's just jump right into it, and hope you guys like it. Okay, number 10, we have Ember. Ember is a panda, and she's one, if not the main damage dealers in the panda faction. The panda faction itself is pretty lackluster in damage, and is one of the worst factions in the game, I'd say. They've had a rework, but the rework was a little eh. They've added Uncle Ho, and that's made him a lot better. I haven't been able to test him much, so I'm not sure, but I hear a lot of good things about him. But Ember is number 10 because not only is she a big legendary, but she can deal a lot of damage, has a great AoE, can stun on one of her abilities, and puts out a lot of burning and stuff. So she's a great character alone, and one of the best pandas in the game. So what she's bringing to the team is just, she's taking the pandas to a whole nother level. She's changing the pandas to make them better. She's a game changer. There's not a lot more to say about Ember, but get her as soon as you can. She elevates your pandas, and she's a great addition just to your roster as it is. And you will find that in Battlegrounds or anywhere else that pandas are required as a faction to bring them up even better. So number 9, Slinger. This is my buddy, man. I like Slinger. Before Buff was here, he was the meta for leadership in the arena. Let's look at his leadership real quick just to see what he's doing with it. So all allied demons gain 20% of their maximum health. So you're making the demon faction itself, tankier. Every time an ally, not just demons, ally suffers a critical hit, all allies recover 5% of their turn meter. And the demons will recover twice that amount. So if you can, you want him in a full demon squad. But he's giving all allies turn meters somewhat. So he's pretty good. What I use him for is a cleanup team in the back of my Battlegrounds defense and offense. He's the start of my crappier team. I save him for his leadership, and then I put the rest of my random tunes I have behind him, because he's one of the very, very few leaders in the game that can provide leadership for anyone. So that right there makes him a game changer all the way around, especially for your Battlegrounds, and he's just a great character. And if it wasn't for Buff, he would be the number 1 demon leader. He also has some pretty good moves. He has this AoE that's not too bad. It deals 250% of physical damage to all enemies, and this specific attack will deal 40% more additional crit damage to enemies that have taunt. It's not bad. It hits okay. And then this move here is pretty good too. It deals physical damage to one enemy, but it also will remove 1 buff if you critical hit him. So, I need to remod him and stuff for crit chance, because you want to... There's times where someone just has 1 taunt, and you need to get rid of that. Well, you want to use this move, because usually when I'm using him, I don't have someone to dispel. And if you don't have more crit chance, like I need to get more crit chance, then you won't dispel that very often. So... Also, this move is pretty good because it decreases turn meter. It's taking physical damage, and then it has a 50% chance to decrease the turn meter by 10%. That's pretty good. That's a pretty good chance. That's a decent amount on a basic. So he's just a really good character all the way around. I like how he looks. He's kind of cool looking. When he came out, he was the man. He was the man in the arena, and he's lost a lot of viability, but he's still a big game changer in Battlegrounds. And especially for someone who's just starting out and doesn't have buff, this is the guy you want for your demons. So I can't say enough good things about him. You can't go wrong. So if you have him available, as long as you have your orcs built up for your Soleus event, your humans built up for your More Doom event, start farming this guy as your leader right now. Even whenever buff replaces him, you're still going to be able to move him into another leader spot, and it'll help you in Battlegrounds. That's about it for Slinger. take him all the way to gear 11 when you can and put all your work into him, especially if you're a newer player, because you will be very happy that you did. Okay, so another demon on the list. You're going to find that this is kind of a trend. There's a lot of demons on the list. Spoiler ahead. Shaddar. Shaddar is only available through T7 raids and higher. You get shards for him when you're doing T7 raids, T8 raids, T9 raids. He's kind of an in-game character, but once you get him unlocked, take him all the way up to gear 11, pimp him out, because he also is a demon leader. But what you eventually want to do in the in-game is you want to have 2 demon teams to put on defense and use on offense or whatever in Battlegrounds. And to do that, you're essentially going to want Buff in your main demon team, Shaddar in your second demon team with Radash, and then like I told you just a minute ago, use Slinger and some just random team that you know, like that really crappy team that you want to put on defense but doesn't do much. Well, if you throw Shaddar on that lead, he's going to make them a bit better. So that's what you essentially want to do with the 3 demon leaders. And because he's on this list, he's a game changer because his damage output, he throws crazy turn meter to all the demons, and overall, I mean, he's a pretty decent demon leader. Let's look at his leadership real quick. I actually need to put more on there. I didn't realize I didn't have it all the way up. He increases the potency of all allied mages by 20%. All allied demons get an 80% chance to inflict slow upon the enemy for 1 turn whenever they inflict debuffs. If the enemy is already slow, the demons will recover 25% of turn meter, but no more than once per turn. So a lot going on there, but you don't even have to have demons. You can have a couple mages in there, but you want to pair him with Radash. That's where this team is a lot better. You put Radash in there, a couple other of the crappier demons, maybe Zantara, Mega Wheel, Puncher Face. I'm not sure the best team, but something like that, like your cleanup demons that aren't the best ones. You put them in here, and they're going to be pretty good. You know, they're getting a lot of turn meter and the thing about demons is they do inflict a lot of debuffs. So you're going to be getting a lot of turn meter, and you're going to be putting slow out. That's a great debuff. It's one of the best debuffs. So that's pretty good, man. And like I said, I'm not going to get into Radash and what they do and everything else. That's for a whole nother video. But them as a pair are pretty good. And so he's just a great character. Now, if you don't have enough demons, he is amazing on your main demon team. If you're a beginner, you're not going to have time to split your demon teams up. So he's amazing with Buff, amazing with Slinger, whoever you have. He's a great addition to put out a lot of damage. So yeah, his kit is amazing. He hits like a truck, a great leader when you have the right demon composition, and that's why he's a game changer. And once again, everyone on here, I don't need to keep saying it, if you see them on this list, take them to gear 11, level 80, and put all you can into them, because somehow they're going to have a huge impact on not only your roster, but in Battlegrounds. All right, number 7, my girl Renara. I love Renara. I love the way she looks. Renara is unlocked in her event where you have to have 5 pandas to unlock her. She is totally worth it. And the reason she's a game changer, because she takes the Pride team to a whole nother level. She revives, she heals like crazy. Those 2 things right there are huge benefits to anywhere in the game. She's totally plug and play. She can revive any allies, she can heal everyone, and she's totally plug and play. Now, her best synergy is obviously with Pride, and she takes Pride to a whole nother level. Why she's so important is because you have her and Salvador. If you have a Hera lead, Salvador's taunting constantly, has that shell constantly. As soon as you get around Salv's taunt, then you go straight for Renara. Well, you start hitting her, and she's not the most squishiest thing. She's not too bad. So you start working on her, and then all of a sudden, you're back working on Salvador. And if you happen to kill Salvador, but not Renara, guess what? Boom, revive. If you don't take in the right team, it is the biggest pain in the game. And you gear 12 your Pride, take them all to level 7 and 8 abilities, and you have the best defensive game. You have the best defensive team in the game, hands down. I want to hear some arguments because I don't think there is one. Now, lower geared, it's not the case, but in the high end of the game, when you're towards the end of the game and you have all these things to put into them, I think they're the best defensive team in the game. Then, I'm not even including Wukong. Boreas, Kagi, Salvador, and Renara here, and it's most likely over. You have quite a bit of offensive power going, and then you have Renara here reviving and taunts and everything else. I prefer Hera lead, but you don't have to. You can have Revel lead too. It is just a crazy combination, and if you do not take the right team in, mainly if you don't have a Dispel, you're screwed. If you don't have someone on there Dispelling, you're screwed. One way to get around Renara is to kill several squishier characters really quickly, and she can only revive once at a time. Then she has to wait for a cooldown. So that's one way I get around her. Perfect plug-and-play character, and she elevates her team and her faction and other teams. She's a great plug-and-play. You can put her anywhere in the game, and she's going to make him a little bit better, especially if you're on the lower end of the game. All right, so number 6 is one of my favorite characters in the entire game, Garrett. Garrett would be higher on this list if he was a leader, but because I'm keeping Battlegrounds in mind, he's a little lower on the list. If he was a leader, he'd probably be number 1. Top 3, definitely top 5 characters in the whole entire game. So why he's a game changer? He can mass blind, freaking huge. The only one that's even close to that is Major Shot that can do something like that. You blind another team for a whole entire turn, it almost turns the tide of the battle. That right there is amazing. That same move will take people out of blind also. So sometimes you can't get to somebody, let's say on Pride or something, because they're all under invisibility. That move gets rid of invisibility. Depending on the situation, it depends on what kind of arrow you want. If it's the anti-magic arrow that gets rid of all buffs on the enemy team, you want that like when there's a bunch of taunts or a bunch of attack and crit chance and everything up, and like when you're going against Eric Shieldbreaker, when he puts that one move up where he gets all his buffs and no one can land a debuff on them. You want the anti-magic arrow to just wipe all that out and everyone starts over again. So that's a great arrow to have later on in the battle. Usually the ones that you really want are Daze and Slow, because that slows everyone down or that dazes everybody. That helps a lot in the beginning of the battle. He is also, I think, officially meta at the moment with Delane lead, Eric Shieldbreaker, Titania, and those 4 together are almost unstoppable. And he will take any team. He's very plug and play. He will take any team and elevate it even higher. With that mass blind all by itself, even if he didn't have those AoEs with the arrows, different arrows, he would be a game changer. He brings up your roster. You can use him in any situation. I find it on Battlegrounds on defense that he's better on a human team, but really you can put him anywhere you want and he works. But he's best with Eric Shieldbreaker and he just dominates people. He's amazing. I love the way he looks. His kit's amazing, and I just can't say enough good things about him. Once again, if he was a leader, he'd be way up higher on my list. Okay, at number 5, we have the man, the myth, the legend, Buff. There's a lot to say about Buff. He is the number 1 leader you want in demons. He will make your demon team the best demon team you can get. He has all kinds of things going on in his kit. And the reason why he's so low on this list is, first of all, he's been nerfed quite a bit since the first time he came out, and you already have 2 demon leaders, like I told you before, that you can do stuff with. So he doesn't change the game as much as other leaders in the game, but he's still an amazing leader. Still top 3, top 4 leaders in the game, and he takes your demons to another level. He's a game changer. He has this really good move where he can switch turn meter with an opponent and give them health and clears their debuffs. I'm sorry, removes 2 debuffs from them. So that move right there is really good. It really helps when you're trying to get turn meter to someone else who's a little bit slower. So he's really good. That move right there alone is really good. And then you have this move, which is kind of RNG, kind of like Garrett's arrows. You don't know where all of these debuffs are going to land. Or I'm sorry, all these buffs go onto you, and then you can also put all these debuffs on the other team, but every one of them is random. You don't know where they're going to go, and you can't control that. But still, tons of debuffs you're throwing out in one move. It's amazing. And then you get tons of buffs at the same time. So, just a crazy cool move. You're putting 8 buffs on your team randomly, 8 debuffs against the enemy team, and it's just a crazy move, and it makes him really, really good. Let's look at his leadership real quick and see why he's so good. He's not good with anyone but demons, so it has to be a full-fledged demon team. And why he's so good is because you're increasing the speed of the allied demons by 15. Now, it used to be 30, I believe, and I mean, he was should have kept it because he should be meta right now. For all the work everyone's put into him and all the hype around him, he should be meta right now, not Delane. But he was a little bit broken, blah, blah, blah. So is Delane. But anyways, he increases their speed and their tenacity, and he has a 33% chance to decrease the target's turn meter by 16.66% when attacking. But another huge stat in the game is dodge. And on his passive ability, he increases dodge by 6.66% for each living demon in the party. So the more demons you have, the more chance to dodge. I think that's just for him, though. So I don't think it's for everyone. But still, if a character can dodge quite a bit, that's a good thing. So he stays out of the harm's way while everyone else does his thing. So he's putting out debuffs, giving buffs, staying out of harm's way, helping out the rest of the team do all the work, while he just sits there and, bogs the other team down a little bit. So anytime you're decreasing turn meter, they're probably going to be a great character. Now, I mean, Robin bad does it and he sucks. So you got to stay alive long enough to be able to reduce that turn meter. And he also reduces turn meter on his basic. He has a 30% chance to decrease the target's turn meter by 30%. So not a huge chance, but he still can do it. So yeah, buff, he's great. You need him almost in the end game. He makes that demons team tanky, amazing, and then that leaves you room after you get him to create your Shaddar or your Slinger demons team. And demons are one of the most prevalent races in the game, and there's only like 1, maybe 2 tunes that aren't that great. The rest of the demons are great. One of the best factions in the game, one of the most prevalent factions in the game. They're one of the most fun factions in the game. I can't recommend going for buff enough. Wonderful character. Max him out. Get him as soon as you can. Alright guys, number 4. The OG. The original gangster of Dragon Champions, Soleus. He was the very first legend we ever got. It requires orcs to unlock him. 5 7-star orcs. This man still is legit to this day. The human team is probably number 3 faction in the whole game, I would say. Top 3. They're still really good, depending on who you have in there. And the reason why he's so high is because he's the best human leadership in the game. And he has broad leadership. So it doesn't mean you have to have all humans in the lineup. But the optimal thing would be is all humans. But if you don't have all humans and you're using them somewhere else or you're just not ready yet, you can put other people in there and he's still going to enhance them somewhat. Let's look at his leadership real quick and see why he's so good. Alright, both the physical damage and magic damage of all allies from the order increased by 25%. So you don't really want to put someone on the clan with him, but anyone in the order has synergy with Soleus. The counterattack chance for all allied humans increases by 10% for each living human in the party. The crit chance of all allied elves increases by 5% for each living elf in the party. The potency of all allied pandas increases by 5% for each living panda in the party. So if you see, he has synergy with pandas, elves, humans, order. So there's all kinds of stuff he's doing. He opens it up for a lot of theory crafting too. Because I mean, like, I don't really see people using pandas or anything like that. But you do want to use Nightiel with him because they assist with each other, and so you're getting a little bit of elf, so you're getting a little bit more to crit chance. But what I like about it is no matter what it says on paper, there's a lot of counter attacks going on. They're pretty good going up against goblins because when they attack you several times, you're counter attacking right back. And you won't always win that match, but most of the time you will. They're a pretty good counter to them, and so if you have a full human team, you're counter-attacking like crazy, and it's pretty fun. So, Just on his leadership alone, I would put him right here. But he has lots of other good things going on with his kit. Just like his passive alone, for humans, it's a big deal. When the battle starts, all allied human defenders receive an armor increase for 3 turns. All human healers and tacticians receive cheat death for 3 turns. And all allied human fighters receive a potency increase for 3 turns. And if Nightiel, who has lots of synergy with him, she receives all these buffs. So she gets all those. That's huge. And that's where I put Nightiel. I don't put Nightiel in an elf team. I put her with him. And that's where she thrives the best. And the human team is a lot better with Nightiel in it. So that passive is huge. And then you have this move. So why I like it mainly is because it's increasing damage to the person. You can only put this on one person. It's increasing damage, and it also gives you a cheat death for 2 turns. So you usually want to have Freezard, and like he's very, very weak. So you want to put this on him pretty soon so that he doesn't die and he gets an extra chance. Also, I like to use this when only one person on your team is low on health and everyone else is good. I use this because he has this mass healing ability, which is great. It's up there with Renara's healing ability. And he just heals all allies by 550% of his magic damage. So obviously you want a lot of magic damage. I think I need to re-rune him, actually. Now I'm looking. It's been a while since I've re-runed. But either way, it's a huge heal, and it heals everyone. But you don't want to waste that move on one person. So that's what's cool about him having this one here. And he can just heal one person and give him cheat death for 2 turns. So that's cheat death is a pretty good thing to have. And even on his basic, once again, you want Nightiel to get the most out of his basic. But he's dealing damage, and he has a chance to restore 1 turn to a random ally. That's always good. Don't count on that to happen because it's 15%. That's very rarely. But anyways, besides that, he's calling Nightiel to assist, and she hits pretty hard, guys. So when you have both of them assisting every time he hits a basic, it dwindles down their health more than you think. So that's about it with Soleus. Wonderful character. Love his kit. Love the way he looks. Still one of the most badass characters in the whole entire game. And you get him right off, pretty much. You get your orcs going, and he's your first legendary, and he's going to carry you through the rest of the game until you start upgrading your roster a little bit more. Love the man, the original gangster of this whole thing, and show your respect to the man, Soleus. Alright, so number 3, we have Zara. Zara is a freaking beast. No pun intended. Like, she is one of the best characters in the game, too. But really, the main reason she's so far up here is because she takes an orc team, which honestly, guys, is crap. They are amazing for you in the beginning, but once you get Soleus, you completely abandon them. And that's because Rantha is okay, and she has kind of a broad range of a leadership, but she's just kind of trash. I love Rantha, I love her whole kit and everything, but her stats are just, falling behind. Because the power creep's getting better, or, getting stronger and crazier, and she's just being thrown behind. But even back in the day, she wasn't the best. So this woman right here is the way you take your orcs to a whole nother level. When you have her as a leader, she is crazy. When you have her as a leader, your orcs all just automatically get better. And like I just said, her leadership is why she is so far up here, because she takes such a crappy team and makes them actually pretty dang good. And so let's look at it real quick. What she does is the potency and maximum health of all allied orcs increase by 20%. So now they can land debuffs easier, and they're already a little bit tankier. So when the battle starts, all enemies receive a tenacity decrease, armor decrease, damage decrease, and buff immunity for 1 turn. Now I would love it I would love that to be 2 turns, because then she's just gangster. Like, there ain't no messing with her. That right there is why she's so good. It will negate Hera Salvador teams. It will negate a lot of teams. That right there. Because what it's doing is you can't taunt on the first turn. You're weaker, and you can't put out damage all on the first turn. And so it's just pretty much making the enemy team useless for 1 turn. And that is a bigger deal than what you think it is. But don't get me wrong, her kit's pretty dang good too. So like this move right here, it hits 3 times in a row, and each time she does it, it deals 230% of her physical damage. if the attack hits the shield, it applies an armor decrease, which is good for 2 turns. And if all 3 hit, then you get bleeding for 2 turns and an ability block again on that person. So that's a really hard hitting move and very satisfactory to use. So I love that. This is also a huge AoE. It hits really hard for 300% damage. It has a chance to inflict healing block, which is pretty big, especially when you have someone that relies on healing. And the target is bleeding. It applies buff immunity. Buff immunity is the most annoying debuff there is. When you have buff immunity on someone, they can't get a buff on them. No matter if you put it on somebody or not, as long as that debuff is on them, they can't get a buff. So it's very, very annoying. But yeah, so I recommend in Battlegrounds getting her because once she's your leader, she now makes a legit defensive option on Battlegrounds. I can't talk enough about her. She's amazing, and get her as soon as you can. All right, guys, number 2. We have my dude, Mordoom. My favorite character in the whole game. Not Delane, not anyone else. This man right here. He is an absolute badass. Everything about this guy is great. He's tanky. He puts out minions, imps that will either heal or put out damage. Either way, those imps are pretty tanky. He can do the slash move right here. When he puts his slash move on, I'm not going to go over all of it. You can kind of see what it is. But when he puts his slash move down, what you need to know is he negates someone for 3 turns. He puts all these things down. He makes it so they can't use their abilities. He slows them down. He makes them weaker. He just whoever you want to put out of the match for 3 turns, put this slash on him. I usually do it in arena. I put it on Titania or Delane or someone like that. Someone who's really annoying you in any battle, throw this slash on them as long as you can. Because if they have like a buff on them where you can't put debuffs on them, then it's useless and it'll be wasted. But if you can land this, it is a game changer. But one of the things I really like about him is his basic, and it removes 2 buffs. This gets you around Kiri. Not so much Titania, because Titania can dodge more, and she seems to have, if you put tenacity on her, it's a little harder to remove buffs. But still, I mean, you could, no matter what, it's awesome on a basic for you to remove 2 debuffs, and I use this all the time. If you're trying to counter any team, no matter how big or small, he is usually in the counter team. He just does so much and can negate people, remove buffs. You put those imps out, and if you don't get to Mordoom soon enough and start killing him, before you know it, the whole battlefield's filled with imps. And 4 minions, they can put out a decent amount of damage, and they can heal for a decent amount. So, this guy is so plug and play. You can put him on Pride, you can put him with Pandas. Wherever you're lacking, throw this guy over there, and he's going to make that team better tenfold. He's the perfect plug and play character in this game. He's just crazy good. I can't go on enough about him. He is so good plug and play that he elevates any team you put on there. You could put someone without a lead, and still you put him on there, he's going to make that team a lot better. And I mean, like, the more imps you have out on the field, the more tenacity and potency you get. And you need potency to get rid of the debuffs, because sometimes they won't land. And tenacity just helps you not have buffs put on you. Either way, I could go on about this guy all day. I think, in my mind, the best hero in this game. Because he doesn't require leadership, and he's still just as badass with or without any kind of leadership. One more thing that's awesome about it, it requires humans to unlock him, and I recommend going orcs first for Soleus and then humans to get him. So if you're a beginner in this game, you get him very, very soon, and he's the best player in the game. He's the best character in the game. So you get him very early on, and he will carry you through everything. Love the guy. Can't talk enough about him. Get him as soon as you can. Put all you can into him, and you will be very thankful you did. Alright guys, the moment you've all been waiting for. Number 1. And you know who it is, because she's the solution to everything. She does everything. Every composition you have a problem, put Delane in. Delane, number 1. Like I just said, in arena, she's the one you go for. In tournaments, she's your lead. In a counter, she's your lead. In the new event that they just came out with, she's your lead. She's everywhere. Unfortunately, in my mind, Mordoom's the number one. But if you have Delane in the leader slot, she's the best character in the game. They just nerfed her a little bit. I was talking with XMG and he told me, and it made sense. And we'll cover more about this in Goblin News coming up soon. But he said it wasn't really a nerf. He said all it did was really just make the elves even better. We'll go more into that because he's more of a theory crafter than me. Even with the nerf / buff, whatever it is, she's still the best character in the game under her own lead. This girl is crazy. The reason she's a game changer is because of the points I just made. You use her everywhere. She is the one you use to take on your best team. I use her to take out demons. Her and the elves, they will wipe demons out. You'll slice through Curie like butter. Why is she so good? Well, let's look at her leadership. She increases the crit chance of all allied elves by 30%, recovers 20% of their turn meter upon landing a critical hit, and has a 50% chance to restore one turn to a random ability. Can be triggered once per turn. Now, the once per turn thing was just added. That's not how it always has been. Either way, she's a badass. It doesn't matter. So what she's doing, so you want to mod all your elves for crit chance, because then she puts crit chance even more on top of them, and every time they're landing critical hits, you're getting 20% of turn meter. Every time you hit a critical chance, you get every time a critical chance. Like, that's crazy. 20%. That's a lot of turn meter. And on top of you getting turn meter, at the same time you got that critical hit, you have a 50% chance to restore one turn to a random ability. Especially if it's being done to her, game over. Match over. I don't know if she can still just hit you with the AoEs over and over again. I've heard that you can. Some people are saying you can't. I haven't played enough with her recently, like in tournaments and everything, because I've been busy. Supposedly you can still hit him. Either way, if you can hit him 3 times in a row, the match is over. Her AoE hits hard, fast, you got ability blocks going on and everything else, and it is crazy. Just her leadership alone, under her own leadership alone, is game changing. It is nuts. She's the supreme leader of this game. I'm sick of seeing her, actually, on everything. Leadership and everything. Hopefully the dwarves change this. But she is the biggest game changer just because of her leadership. So, going over to this AoE I was just talking about. What it does is it deals 270% of physical damage to all enemies. If all those enemies are hit, then it inflicts an ability block on all of them for 2 turns. If you can, that's why you want more crit chance. Everyone needs crit chance on this team. Because every time you're landing critical hits, you're getting turn meter. You're ability blocking. You're doing all kinds of crazy stuff. And like I said, just her underneath her own lead is good. You don't even need a bunch of elves behind you. She's also very synergetic with Eric Shieldbreaker and the Garrett duo. Her basic is good. She's dazing on basic. The attack damage isn't that much when you do it, but when you're putting daze on people for 2 turns, you're holding them back. Like, a daze is a great debuff to be able to put out on a basic. That's a big deal too. So a lot like Mordoom, her whole entire kit is great. And if you have a bunch of critical hits going around on the team, goodbye. You're done. Like, you're not taking them out. If you have Delane, immediately stop working on what you're working on. Take her to gear 11. Put everything on her. And put the fastest runes you have on her. Make her as fast as you possibly can. The faster your Delane is, the more likely you're going to win every single match you have with her. That's all I got to say about Delane. That's my top 10 on the Game Changers. Thank you all for coming by and checking it out. If you guys have a different opinion, didn't like the order of things, I missed out on a character, please comment below. I love talking to you guys. I always respond to everyone who comments. If you guys want to talk more, come by my Discord. Love having conversations over there. It's not so lively, but I'm slowly getting more members there, and there's starting to be a little bit of conversation there. But if you guys like what you saw, please subscribe, hit like, and I will see you guys next time. Peace.